What happens when a CEO trades his corner office for the register at one of his own cafes and catches a cashier pocketing tips meant for the team? Rowen stood in the back of store 11, tying the apron around his waist with hands that hadn't touched a register in years. 12 cafes. Hundreds of employees, built from scratch over 12 years, and yet Isaac had no idea what really went on past the polished reports and carefully scheduled district manager calls. He used to know, back when he brewed the coffee himself and scrubbed the floors after closing. But now he was relying on filtered updates and sugar-coated feedback. That changed 2 weeks ago. A regular customer emailed about being ignored by staff at store 11. Not once, not twice, 4 times, the same tone every time. They don't care, no one says hi, no one smiles. It's like I don't exist. Isaac didn't want another report. He wanted the truth. Store 11 sat on the far edge of the city where turnover was high and pay was just enough to keep people from quitting. He hadn't personally met anyone at that location. Most of the staff had been hired by the store manager, Kara, who'd been with the company for 3 years. She'd always hit her numbers. That was all Isaac knew. He grew out his beard, dyed his graying hair dark, and wore thick glasses. He introduced himself as Ian, a new part-time trainee sent by the district office to help cover a recent staff shortage. Kara didn't question it. She looked exhausted. "You'll shadow one of the morning cashiers," she had said, handing him a name tag. That's how Isaac found himself behind the counter beside a woman named Noel. Early 20s, sharp-tongued, fast fingers. She ran the register like a machine, barely looked up when customers ordered. Every once in a while she'd flash a fake smile, but it disappeared before the customer turned away. "Don't bother being too nice," she muttered to Isaac while punching in a cappuccino. "The regulars act like they own the place, just get their drinks right." Isaac watched quietly. He wasn't here to argue. The morning rush hit hard. Orders piled up. A young barista named Callie, barely 5 feet tall and clearly new, was trying to keep up with drink tickets while also wiping spills and running milk refills. Noel didn't once offer to help her. In fact, when a customer handed over a tip and said, "For all of you, you're working hard," Noel slid the bill into the tip jar, then subtly pulled it out a few minutes later and dropped it into her apron pocket when she thought no one was looking. Isaac saw it. Clearly, it wasn't a one-off. It happened again and again. Always in small amounts, 1s, 5s. Always when Callie or the other barista, Martin, weren't looking. By noon, Isaac's stomach was in knots. He stepped outside during his break, walking a few blocks to clear his head. Maybe he misread it. Maybe she planned to split the tips later. But that wasn't what the customer had said. "For all of you." Not for one. Back inside, Kara emerged from the office. She looked at Isaac and said, "You're doing okay. Noel says you're catching on. She's fast," Isaac replied carefully. "But she seems tired." Kara rubbed her eyes. "They all are. We're short 2 people. I've been covering shifts myself." That explained the shortage, but not the mood. He worked 3 more shifts that week. Same pattern. Noel controlled the register. Callie and Martin scrambled around. And every time a customer dropped bills into the jar, Noel found a way to pocket some of it. On Friday afternoon, Isaac caught up with Callie in the back while she was refilling syrups. "You guys split tips daily?" he asked. She looked surprised. "No, we're supposed to. But Noel usually takes the jar to the back, says she'll count and Venmo us. I haven't seen much lately." "How much did you get this week?" Callie shrugged. "Like $5 total, $5. Isaac felt heat rise in his chest. He didn't say anything else. He just nodded and walked away. That night, he sat in his car outside the cafe, staring at the building he created from nothing. He thought about how hard Callie worked, how Martin stayed late without being asked, how tips were meant to show appreciation, and how someone had quietly stolen that appreciation day after day. He wasn't ready to reveal himself yet. He needed to see more. He needed to know if Kara knew, if this was a one-person problem or something deeper. He took a deep breath, turned the key, and drove off. Tomorrow he'd come in early and he wouldn't be silent anymore. Saturday morning. Isaac arrived at store 11 before opening, unlocking the side door with the key Kara had handed him the day before. The air inside was cold and quiet. Lights half on, the espresso machine still warming up. He took a slow breath, rolled up his sleeves, and began pulling out chairs one by one, checking for wobble, crumbs, loose screws. It gave him something to focus on. By 7, the rest of the team filtered in. Callie first, hair tucked under a beanie, then Martin in a wrinkled apron and headphones looped around his neck. Noel came in last, 20 minutes late, carrying a smoothie and texting as she walked. "Sorry," she said without looking up. Bus was a mess. "You're on register," Kara called from the back office. "Ian, you're with Martin on prep." Isaac nodded, moved behind the pastry case and began checking date tags. Martin gave a polite nod, then went back to stacking croissants. "You work somewhere before this?" Martin asked, not looking up. "Yeah," Isaac said. "Mostly kitchens, cafes, nothing big." Martin gave a faint shrug. "This place is all right, busy, but Kara tries." Isaac let the silence hang a moment. "How long have you been here?" "Almost a year." He paused. "Don't know how much longer, though. My schedule's been cut twice in the last month." "Why?" "Don't know. Kara says hours are tight, but I saw Noel closing 3 days in a row and she's only been here, 4 months?" Isaac dusted his hands on a towel. "You ever talk to her about it?" Martin laughed once, dry. "You think she listens?" "I asked her to rotate shift coverage last week. She told me to be more available if I wanted more hours." That lined up with what Isaac had seen. Noel didn't just work the register. She controlled it along with the schedule, the tip jar, and apparently Kara's ear. By mid-morning, the line was out the door. Isaac moved drinks, wiped counters, and timed his glances toward the register. Noel moved quickly, but her eyes wandered constantly toward her phone, toward the tip jar, toward the cameras she clearly knew how to avoid. Then came something new. An older man, maybe in his 60s, handed a 10 to Noel after ordering a latte. "Keep it," he said. "That's for the whole crew. You guys are running around." As he stepped aside, Noel slid the bill into the jar, then turned toward the espresso machine. When she thought no one was watching, she reached in and folded 2 bills into her palm. Not just one. 2. Isaac turned to Kara, who'd finally stepped out of the office. "Hey, do you mind if I ask something?" She looked up from her tablet. "Sure." "Is there a set process for splitting tips here?" Kara hesitated. "Yeah, Noel usually handles it. She tallies at the end of her shift and sends everyone their cut." Isaac nodded slowly. "So the others don't see the jar?" "I mean, they can, but she's on register most of the time. It's just for efficiency." He wanted to say more. Instead, he watched Callie carry a tray of dirty mugs back to the sink, her shoes soaked from a spill no one had helped her clean. Something cracked in him then. That afternoon, Isaac sat in the break room with Callie on her 10-minute pause. He kept his voice even. "You're here a lot." She gave a small laugh. "Yeah, I'm covering for a couple people who quit last week." "Do you get overtime?" Her smile faded. "No. Kara said they'd rather give us comp hours, but I haven't seen those either." Isaac leaned forward. "And the tips, still nothing." She looked away. "I don't want to make a big thing out of it. I need the hours, and if I complain, I might lose them." Isaac stood up. "You're not making a big thing. You're doing your job." He left her there and walked straight to the front. Noel was leaning against the wall, texting between customers. Kara was across the room, wearing earbuds and reviewing inventory on her tablet. Isaac stepped next to the register and looked Noel in the eye. "I'll take over," he said. "Go restock syrups." She blinked. "Why? Because I asked." Noel hesitated, then rolled her eyes and walked off. Isaac opened the tip jar. Folded bills. Loose change. He counted quickly, then jotted the amount on a napkin and slipped it into his apron. That night after closing, he asked Kara to meet him outside. The sidewalk was quiet. A light mist hung in the air. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure." "Do you track how tips are distributed?" "Not really," Kara replied. "I trust Noel, she's been solid." "Why?" Isaac pulled the napkin from his pocket. "That was today's haul, $243. I counted it before she took it to the back. When I asked Callie what she got this week, she said 5. Kara's eyes narrowed. You're sure? I watched her. Every day this week. She skims when no one's looking. She plays favorites. She's also been adjusting the schedule to give herself prime shifts and cutting hours from people who ask questions. Kara crossed her arms. You're saying she's stealing. I'm saying she's exploiting the system you handed her. Kara didn't respond right away. She looked toward the street, then back at Isaac. I'll look into it. No, he said. You won't? I'm not Ian, she blinked. What? I'm Isaac Rowen, founder, owner. And I've seen enough. Kara took a step back. You're not in trouble, he added. Not yet, but you've been asleep at the wheel. You've got people breaking their backs in there, and you haven't asked a single question in weeks. Kara opened her mouth, then closed it. I'll be back tomorrow morning, he said. And you're going to sit down with every employee here, one by one. You're going to ask them about their hours, their tips, their concerns, and you're going to write down every word. What about Noel? She's fired, effective now. Kara didn't argue. Isaac turned and walked toward his car, the mist turning to rain. Tomorrow he'd return. And this time he wouldn't be invisible. Sunday morning opened with a quiet tension. The sky was pale and overcast, like it hadn't quite decided if it would rain. Isaac arrived 20 minutes before open, stepping through the side door with his name badge left behind. No apron this time, just himself. Kara was already there, standing near the espresso machine with a clipboard and a tired expression. She didn't speak right away when she saw Isaac. He didn't expect her to. You told them yet? He asked. Not all of them. I wanted to wait until you got here. Isaac nodded. Start with Callie. She deserves to be first. Kara walked to the back, and a few seconds later Callie emerged, confusion flickering across her face. She looked at Isaac, then back at Kara. There's something I need to tell you, Isaac said. I'm the owner. My name's Isaac Rowen. I've been working here undercover most of the past week. Callie's eyes widened. She didn't speak. I saw how hard you've worked. I saw you doing 3 people's jobs without a complaint, and I saw what was happening with the tips. Callie blinked. So, you're not Ian. No, and you're not invisible, not anymore. She swallowed and looked at Kara. Is she really gone? Isaac answered before Kara could. Yes. As of last night, Callie didn't say thank you. She didn't cry. She just stood a little straighter. I want you to stay after your shift today, Isaac said. We're going to talk about what needs to change. She gave a quiet nod, then went to start setting up the pastry case. The rest of the staff arrived slowly. Martin showed up next, followed by 2 part-timers Isaac hadn't met yet, Janelle and Rob. Janelle looked about 18, kept her sleeves pulled down past her wrists. Rob kept to himself and went straight for the mop sink without saying a word. Kara pulled each of them aside one by one. The conversations were short. No one asked questions. No one seemed surprised. That told Isaac more than any spreadsheet ever had. By the time the first customer walked through the door, the store was running on half steam. With Noel gone and no replacement yet, the burden fell harder on the remaining crew. Isaac stepped behind the counter again, this time without pretending. He rang up orders, pulled shots, and bussed tables without giving himself a break. He wasn't here to watch anymore. Around 10, Kara came back from the back office. Her eyes found Isaac between customers. Can we talk? He motioned toward the back hallway near the dry storage room. She leaned against the wall. I talked to everyone. They knew what was going on. They just didn't think anything would change. Because nothing had, Isaac said flatly. You were too busy working around the problems to fix them. I wasn't trying to ignore it, I know, but you were. You felt like if you just kept the place running, that was enough. But people don't quit over coffee beans or broken equipment. They quit because no one listens. Kara folded her arms. What happens now? You're not being let go, Isaac said, but you're stepping back. I'm assigning a regional manager to oversee training and operations here for the next 60 days. You'll shadow her. You'll work alongside your team every day, not from the office. She didn't argue. As they stepped back into the front, a customer at the counter raised his voice. I've been waiting 10 minutes. What is this amateur hour? Isaac stepped forward. "We're short-staffed this morning. I appreciate your patience." The man gave a dismissive wave, but Isaac didn't flinch. He turned to Martin. "Take 5. "I'm good," Martin said, wiping his hands on a towel. That wasn't a suggestion. Martin looked at him, confused, but finally stepped into the back. Isaac followed. "You've been grinding non-stop for the last 3 hours. You're not a machine." Martin leaned against the stainless steel sink. "I'm just used to it. Used to being ignored," Martin let out a breath. "Used to covering for people who don't care. I didn't think it mattered." "Well, it does now, and it starts with you getting a real break." Martin nodded, slower this time. When Isaac returned to the floor, Janelle was finishing a drink order, visibly nervous. "You good?" he asked. "I'm trying," she said. "It's just, I didn't think I'd still be here." "Why'd you stay?" She hesitated. "Couldn't afford to leave." "But I told myself if it got worse, I'd walk." "Did it get worse?" She glanced toward where Noel had always stood. "Not today." Isaac didn't smile. He simply handed her a fresh rag. "If anything feels wrong, you come to me directly, no waiting." No chain of command. Janelle gave a small nod, then returned to wiping the counter. After closing, Isaac called the team together. They gathered near the pastry case, exhausted but curious. "I want to be clear about what happens next," Isaac began. "Noel is gone. She won't be coming back. Kara is staying, but she's going to be retraining with all of you, from the ground up." He turned toward the bar. "We're posting 2 new job openings this week. Full-time. Benefits included. No more one person covering what should be 3. No one spoke, but every face was watching him now. "Tips will be handled differently. Starting tomorrow, they'll be collected digitally through the register and pooled automatically. Everyone will get equal distribution based on hours worked. No more jars. No more trust systems that fail." He looked at Rob, who had barely said more than 2 words all day. "You okay with that?" Rob shrugged. "It sounds fair." "It is. And if anyone ever tries to mess with that system again, you come straight to me." He paused. "This store's not just a line item on a report to me. It's part of what I built. But I let distance turn into silence. I can't undo that, but I can fix what's broken now." Martin crossed his arms. "What about people like Noel? How do we stop that from happening again?" Isaac nodded. "We build better filters, we train better, and we listen sooner." He looked around at each of them. "You all showed up when it was hard, when it was unfair. That matters. And starting now, we're going to match that effort with action." The group broke apart without applause. Just quiet nods and slow movements toward the back, where bags and jackets waited. Isaac stayed behind, wiping the counter with slow, deliberate strokes. Kara approached quietly. "I'll be here at 6 tomorrow," she said. "I'll start with cleaning the floors." "You'll start by asking your team what they need," Isaac replied, not looking up. "Then you'll clean the floors." She gave a small nod and left without another word. Alone in the cafe, Isaac looked around at the worn tables, the cracked grout near the drink station, the faded chalkboard with half-erased specials. It wasn't perfect, but it was worth rebuilding, and this time he'd be present for every step. 2 weeks later, Isaac returned to store 11 just after dawn. He didn't bring a disguise this time, no apron, no clipboard. He stood on the sidewalk across the street, watching the windows fill with soft yellow light as the morning crew started prepping for open. Inside, the pace was steady but measured. He'd been checking in daily by phone with the regional manager he'd assigned, Marissa, a former operations director who had once turned around 2 failing locations in less than a year. She was sharp, patient, and direct. Most importantly, she didn't tolerate shortcuts. Isaac had seen her fire a district manager once for manipulating overtime records. That was why he trusted her with this. He stepped through the front door just after the first round of orders cleared. The register was now integrated with a digital tipping system that routed tips based on shift hours. Customers tapped a screen, chose what to leave, and the system handled the rest. Simple, transparent, permanent. Callie was at the espresso machine, hair pulled back, sleeves rolled up. She didn't flinch when she saw Isaac, just gave a quick nod and went back to steaming milk. That was all he wanted, Not gratitude, not ceremony, just trust. Martin emerged from the back carrying a crate of clean mugs. He looked over. Heard you might stop by. Isaac walked over. Just checking the pulse. Martin set the crate down. Slower today. Janelle's on register. Kara's doing food prep. Isaac scanned the store. Everything looked cleaner. Not just physically, though the counters were spotless and the back wall had been repainted, but in the way people moved. No one was glancing over their shoulder. No one was shrinking behind anyone else. He found Kara halfway through restocking the pastry case. She stood up when she saw him, brushing crumbs off her gloves. You get the new staff in yet? Isaac asked. Started training yesterday. One full-time hire, one part-time. Both have food service experience. Rob's helping with back-end prep now that he's off close shifts. Isaac nodded. You had your one-on-ones? She pulled a small notepad from her pocket. Every single one. Took 4 days. I wrote down everything. Scheduling, equipment issues, even requests for more plant-based milk options. Anything surprise you? Kara took a breath. Yeah, Janelle asked why no one had ever asked her before. Isaac didn't answer. He didn't have to. Kara looked him in the eye. I wasn't paying attention. That won't happen again. He motioned toward the prep sink. You free for 10 minutes? She peeled off her gloves and followed him to the back. It wasn't a formal meeting, just two people standing near a humming refrigerator. You're going to finish your 60 days with Marissa. After that, we'll sit down again, see where we are. Kara nodded. Understood. You've got good instincts, Isaac continued, but instinct doesn't mean much if you don't stop long enough to use it. I thought being invisible was better than being in the way, Kara said. Turns out it's the fastest way to lose the room. She folded her arms. You ever get scared you missed something, somewhere else? I did, he said. That's why I'm not going back to the office full time. I'll be rotating through every store over the next 6 months, no disguise. No scripted visit, just work shifts. Kara raised an eyebrow. You really going to mop floors? I already did. I'll do it again. She cracked the smallest smile. You'll get the worst ones on Saturdays. I deserve that. Back in the front, Isaac took a seat at a corner table. He watched as Janelle handled a line of 3 customers with steady rhythm. Her voice was louder now, not forceful, just clear. When a man asked if the scones had dairy, she didn't hesitate or guess. She checked the binder under the counter, confirmed ingredients, and offered an alternative. That binder didn't exist 2 weeks ago. Callie walked past with a tray of drinks balanced in one hand. She glanced at Isaac. You sticking around? For a bit, he said. Good. We've got 2 deliveries coming and nobody wants to deal with the milk crates. Isaac stood. I'm your guy. They moved through the next hour without chaos. There were still minor issues, a mislabeled syrup bottle, a customer who complained the music was too low, but they were handled. Not deflected. Not ignored. Later, Isaac found Janelle wiping down the grab-and-go fridge. She wore a plain black cap now, one without the faded logo she'd borrowed from Lost and found her first week. Can I ask you something? He said. She nodded. You ever think about training up, maybe shift lead? Her eyes widened. Me, you've been consistent, you've learned fast. And you've got a calmness under pressure I don't see often. I mean, if you think I could, you already are, you just haven't had the title yet. Janelle looked down for a moment, then straightened. Okay. I'll try. No rush, Isaac said, but I'll talk to Marissa about putting you in the next leadership training round. She nodded again, slower this time, and returned to her task. By 2 o'clock, the lunch push had passed. Isaac stepped outside, leaning against the brick wall, arms crossed as delivery trucks rumbled past. Marissa joined him, clipboard under one arm, sunglasses perched on her head. You've built something good here, she said. I almost let it rot. You caught it in time. Barely. Isaac didn't argue. Marissa continued. Kara's adjusting. She's not defensive. That helps. She's not lazy, just overloaded. Too many managers get promoted without being prepared. It's not an excuse, but it's a pattern. Isaac nodded. That's changing. Marissa flipped the clipboard open. Payroll's been corrected. Lost tips have been reimbursed from the company budget. Janelle's enrolling in the leadership track. Callie got her availability adjusted so she can take classes again. Isaac turned to her. She didn't tell me that. She didn't want to ask until she knew it wouldn't cost her shifts, he exhaled. Tell her next week's schedule is hers to build around. Marissa closed the clipboard. Consider it done. Isaac looked back at the window. Callie was behind the counter, laughing at something Rob had said. Martin was sweeping near the entrance. They weren't fixed, but they weren't afraid anymore. Marissa gave him a sideways glance. You going to keep showing up like this? He nodded. Every month, different store each time. No theatrics, just work. Good, she said. Because the moment you stop walking into your own business like a stranger, you stop leading it. Isaac pushed off the wall and opened the door for her. Inside, the cafe smelled like fresh bread and citrus cleaner. The lights were warm. The music was steady. There was still work ahead, but for the first time in a long while, it felt like the foundation was solid again. And this time, he was going to keep his boots on the floor.